Hey guys, what's up? All right. It's Double Deuce back, and today we're gonna go over a few things of the build. And I did take it for a test run. I'm very happy with it. I was like psyched. The gearboxes I think are gonna work out well with a few modifications to them, which I'll go over in the video. So, like you say, I'm all scruffed out. That's what happens when you go into a build pretty deep. You just lose track of time, and then guess what, the whole 3-day weekend's gone. But I'm ready to roll, so you guys stay tuned, and here we go. So we're back now. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, so this is the beast, the Godzilla build. It was pretty cool. I found a decal on Evil Bay there, and I thought it was very fitting towards it. You know what I mean? So it was like $4 on eBay. I'll throw a link in there if anybody wants one. But they're I guess I could say I've added more to the truck, and I did take it for the test drive, and it's pretty snotty. You know what I mean? It's got a lot of torque. I ran it through all 3 gears, first, second, third, and I hit the reverse, tried that out. Everything worked well. The only bad thing is, believe it or not, I don't know if it was because of the torque or because I was driving it pretty hard. I broke a shock in the back, so I had to change the shocks over. And the only ones I had laying around were the internal spring ones, would look kind of goofy on there. And I could probably try to get some collars and put some external springs on them, I guess. But and I had I always keep a set of Traxxas T-Max shocks around because, like I say, they're always the cheap fail-safe. They got very well, I guess, running capabilities out of them shocks. I've never had an aftermarket shock that's worked as well and lasted as long as those plastic ones do. So I always go back to that. I did change up the springs in them and all that. So let's get into the detail. I'll get the body off. Like I say, this is the the FS-L200 build with the 3-speed transmission. And I'll take the body off and we'll bang it out. Alright, it takes a little bit to get that body off there because I packed everything in so tight, and I'm using these bumpers on there, so I can't make it where it flips up or down. So first off, I get to the transfer case. Okay, you see under there, I'll zoom in on it, and you see I bolted the transfer case right flat to the back of the gearbox. In order to do that, inside these shift collars in here, there's set screws for the little block, your shifter blocks in there. You can loosen them up and you can slide the shafts in or out. You can add a longer shaft if you need to and all that. So what I did was I shared the wealth. I put the disc brake on the front, in between the clutch and the spur gear, because it normally is on the back, which opened the whole back up for me. So when I slid the shaft back, I had just enough for the disc brake, and I had enough to come through the transfer case, because I had taken the transfer case apart and removed one of the gears in there. And like I say, they had a fixed shaft on them. They weren't pinned like normal, So I've been waiting for a spur gear to show up, and my particular transfer case was a 32 pitch 15 tooth gear, with a 5mm hole, which is a pretty common gear. But when it's still in the mail, actually. So it never showed up. So what I had ended up doing was I had a 16 tooth, and I tried that in there. I didn't even know I had the thing. I looked at it 3 or 4 times, and it didn't even dawn on me until the other night there. So the 16 tooth actually fit very well in there, because it was a 15 to 15 and then a larger one. So, you know, with the bearings and the shafts and stuff, there was enough slop in this gearbox that I could actually put that 16 tooth in there, and I'm glad I did, because it actually worked pretty good. So the way I did it was, these have two bearings, one on each side. I left the front bearing right on the case when you slide it on, and then I took a little piece of angle and angle aluminum. Let me see it in there or not. Try to get it. Yeah, right there, and I just bolted it to the transfer case, and it bolted it right to the back of the gearbox. And then I ground a flat spot on the back of the shaft, tightened up my my spur gear, and then I assembled the back half with all the internals in it, and it works very well, actually. It yeah, you know, I'm not happy about the drive shaft angles quite yet. I'd like to get the gearbox down a little more, which I can do. That way there, it'll cut the sharp angle of these, and but it works well the way it is. So, and besides the shocks that I had to put on it, actually raised it up probably 1/4 of an inch, and I didn't really want that. I'd like to lower it back down. So my plan is to lower this down just a hair more, and I'm going to put a spacer, a bumper inside the shock there to keep them from overextending, because the only problems I'm having is overextending to the point where the drive shafts are binding inside the U-joints. So, but it's a kind of a quick setup. I really wanted to use the original you know, cross member in the thing. That way I could bolt the back of the transfer case to the tranny and right through to this here to make it a solid unit. And so far so good. So like I say, I took it out for a run. You can see I ended up finishing my exhaust system here. It's just straight pipes out the back. And what I ended up doing, I ended up putting some one of those 3M or Scotch-Brite scuff pads. I just cut a piece off and slid it in there, and it quiets it down, and it still breathes pretty well, but it spits it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide them in there, and then I'm going to put a small screw underneath here on each side, and just to keep them from spitting out. And that way, if they get clogged and I need to change them, I can take the screw out, get in there, and fish it out with a tiny screwdriver. So now here is that ignition unit. This thing is, I was really happy I got this thing. I went over this in one of my other videos there. These are really hard to get, but they sell the single ones. This one's a dual. It has dual plugs on the thing, and it has like 3 working states. Okay, one's off. 2 is a it's kind of I can't remember what they call it now. It's like an in-between where you can leave it in there, and internally it monitors the temperature of your glow plugs. And if one cuts out, it'll bring more juice to it to fire it back up again. Now, one of the problems I was having with this thing was, one, the ground. Okay, and you can say the wires weren't long enough to do the spot in the front over here where you can see right there's a little cleaned off area in the head. I can extend the wires on it because nothing's real permanent right now, because I have bought some speed controls, and I bought some more igniters, and this speed control here is basically here just to feed my my radio. I could take it out and put a smaller you know, little 4-pack of AA's in there to feed it, but I got so many servos going on, I kind of wanted to have a lot of juice going to it, so I stuck that in there for now. And when the other speed controls, the speed controls I got were for they were kind of like a shotgun thing. You buy like 4 of them for like $20, and They were 40 amp, and the only thing I need the speed control for is to start the starter motor to start the engine up. And but I need the feed from the battery, so I'll be able to eliminate this and one of the batteries and just run one smaller battery and tap them all together, and I'll still be able to use my radio to start it. And the cool thing is about this igniter system, okay, it works off your radio. So I'm going to kind of zoom in on the thing itself. Okay, keep your eye on the, see how small that thing is? It's tiny, you know, and it don't take up a lot of room. So I'll be able to eliminate this speed control down here, this speed control over here, this battery, and like I say, so I'm gonna turn this on now. All right, and get our switches going here. Okay, you see how it's flashing? That's because it's off. Now when I turn my radio on, okay, I use the 3-position switch here. So when I turn this forward, my radio ain't on. There we go. Now, okay. Now you'll see it's only flashing every now and then because I got the battery hooked up to it. Okay. So I got, you see the little flash coming out of it over here. Every little so often comes up a little flash. That tells me that there's juice connected to it. Now when I turn on my radio, okay, it's still dead. Now when I energize it with this here, this is your stable mode. See how it flashes, the 2 blue lights flash? Okay, now this is your start mode. If you push it one more forward, that's start mode. That's heating the glow plugs up. Okay, then you can drop it back after you warm it up to that, and what that does is it pulsates juice to your glow plugs, and you can actually shut it off too. So you know, you get it started, and you don't really want to use the battery as a monitor for that. This was designed for airplanes, so when you're in flight and you lose a cylinder, you can restart the plane in the air and not have to land it or crash it or whatever. So, which I thought that was unique, really unique. But like I say, this is the dual one, and they do have the single ones. So I have bought a couple of more of the single ones that have a push button to start it, and I'm just going to try to see if those will work with the radio just like these do. Now this does have a small pigtail that comes off here, and it'll take up to 8.6 volts this thing will take, okay, in, and it puts out like 1.5 to your plugs. And the problem is they got the wires coming out one side here, the other side here, so but the wires are the same size. So it kind of, you know, when they do this stuff, it kind of makes it difficult for us to place it in our cars unless we start hacking up wires and stuff. And sometimes when you change the lengths of some of these wires here, you change the voltage too. And so if you make it longer, it just makes it worse. So it's not getting the correct voltage there. But there's no way to adjust this one. So I have bought some that are like this that I've been using in my other builds, okay? But they got an LED readout on them that tells you, you know, how many volts are coming in, and there's a button you push and it tells you how many volts are coming out of it. So, so I got some of them coming, and it would be cool to see, to monitor it, you know, to see how many volts you got rolling in and out, you know. But so far, if I could get another one of these, I'm on it, I'll tell you, because I'll stock up on these things. These are, you know, they were like, you know, 25 bucks, 30 bucks or something, but they solve all the problems. This thing here, it was dying on their back cylinder, or Black LA Mass, I'm sorry. He had a problem with his too. It was just running cold dead, and it would fire every now and then it would, you know, die again, and it was very frustrating. And I actually, on mine, let me shut this off for a second. On mine, I actually removed the single carburetor I had, and I put the duals back on it because I thought that maybe it was starving, but it, you know, that wasn't the case. It does run really well on one carburetor, and you just got to mixing it up just a hair. And with that intake manifold that I had made, it keeps a supply of mixed fuel inside it all the time. So it's kind of like a backup, you know. So you can get more of a stable, really low idle out of it, and a really good punch. I mean, these little engines have a lot of power. And when I had first drove this thing using, you know, the gearbox, all right, it was I don't know, I wasn't very impressed with it at all, because I thought, man, this thing has no power. It's like, you know, it's just so heavy and everything else. And it wasn't the gearbox at all. It was the cylinder that kept cutting out on my engine. So once I got this thing replaced on there and took it out and ran it, it was astronomically better. It was just like a blast to drive, and it has massive amounts of torque. So I'm running a 46 tooth steel gear right off my clutch. I think it's a 16 or 17 tooth clutch, and so maybe not 15 or 16, I think it was, because I got the smallest clutch I could get. It's off the Kyosho, one of their nitro cars and stuff. And so I just put it all together, and like I say, put my transfer case on the back. I finally got my drive shafts in, took it out, and it was ripping up the terra firma pretty good. I was very, very impressed with it. And like I say, the problem was I broke a shock off back here because it was cracked, and I thought, it'll be great, it'll be okay for a test run. Not, you know. Took it out there, and it was like, it has massive amounts of torque to run these 2.2s like nothing, you know. I mean, it was just ripping it up out there in first gear, and second gear was good, and third gear, you could take off in third gear just like the HGP 407 transmissions. And so when the shock broke, of course, the rear end jumped up and broke the fuel tank, and it was all downhill from there. But you know, that's the, you know, the things you do, you know, for a trial run to, you know, test your stuff. So, but, you know, so I got back in, used the T-Max shocks, put a new fuel tank on it, and now it's just freezing cold outside, so I'm not going to get a run in today, but I will upload a no-talk video of this thing just going out and having some fun. The fuel don't last long with the dual carbs, because there's a lot of waste going on there, because you can't really fine-tune them enough, I guess, to get the fuel mileage of one carburetor. So I'm going to play with that a little bit more now that I have a constant spark, and it monitors the plug. It'll be I might be able to fine-tune everything a little bit better. Usually I run with the Toyan, their Sterling kit and engine DIY igniters. Usually I just run the voltage through them all the time, and you know, it keeps everything alive. I know my V4 in my Capo JK Max, you know, I keep those things ignited all the time because it's such a heavy rig, it'll drown it. So the other thing that I ended up doing was I had a bad glow plug back here too. Apparently the resistance of the plug has a lot to do with the igniters, because I had set up, this is speed control with the igniter I got from Engine DIY, okay? And, you know, it's got the igniter there, you know, it comes, well, it's over here now. I would put this on this plug, I would get like 1.36 volts going to the plug. If I took it off that one and I put it on this glow plug back here, I had like 0.75. I didn't even have like 3/4 of a volt going into the plug, and it wasn't enough to even make it glow red. So I ended up changing the plug, and then I put this igniter system on there, and everything's been great ever since. So, like I say, any questions, comments, throw them out there. Feel free to hit me up. But stuff I ordered months, after this pinion, a month after came. So I got myself a nice little Pinnacle trailer hitch, for my bumper, but I didn't get my pinion. So I was psyched to see the trailer hitch came. I'm not going to use it, but hey, it was for looks. I just wanted it to kind of make like a super bad cool build, and if you guys, I don't know if you've seen these things or not, they're wicked cool. But they got a little latch that unlatches them, and once you unlatch it, the Pinnacle will come up, and then you can drop it back down and latch it, and it'll actually latch the so you can haul trailer around, which I thought was wicked cool. So that's my video for today. Hope you guys had a great New Year's. I was buried in this thing. It was, like I say, I really don't party a whole lot anymore, and the time I like to spend on my builds, I like to spend it with a clear mind. I don't like to be all hungover. So I was clean, I was good, and I was buried into this, and now the results are here. It's ready to roll. So this video, it'll be busting around, and we'll test out that 3-speed gearbox. Speaking of the 3-speed gearbox, I didn't want to forget. Now when you buy these things, okay, they just come with the center box, the disc brake, and that's it. You add in whatever spur gear you'd like to add. And when I move my brake to the front, I just made an aluminum bracket here that works seriously off the throttle itself. So when you crack the throttle open, it pulls it away from the brake, and the brake's back here, okay? So it releases the brake. But when you shut the throttle down to a neutral position, okay, which would be about, let's say, come on, sir, about there, it's still, it still has room. But then when you crack the throttle forward as in brake mode, this whole shaft flexes, okay, because it's just like a spring steel, and then it actually hits the brake and slows it down to suddenly, and you see how this all flexes. It's very flexible. So I don't need any springs. The only spring I put on it was a return spring up here. But now that I've got this all worked out and I'm happy with it, I wish they would have had a cover for this, because these gears come dry. They got rust on them from sitting around. A lot of humidity over there where they put them together, and so they take like the first run to kind of loosen up and break in. I had to move or loosen up all these gears on the top and kind of give it a little bit of slot back and forth, not a whole lot, but because it was it was crammed right tight on everything and right up against the bearings, right against this here housing. And so if they could seal that off, I know you can get just the forward and reverse version of this, which is only the back half. It's in an aluminum housing now. And I seen them on, I think it's Engine DIY has them. I don't know if Sterling Kit has them yet or not, but I'd say I don't know if they're the same company. But that would be great if you could get that all sealed up. Now you could probably take some aluminum tape and tape it up if you wanted to, or you can. I made an aluminum case for this, and I didn't put it on right yet because I wanted to make sure that my my neutral settings were correct on my radio, because on my radio, you can see on the top there what I did was, those are my shift settings. I just put a piece of aluminum tape up there and just kind of notched in there. The centers are neutral with the ends, and it's third, reverse, second, first. So if I turn it like that, that's first. And then I bring it back to neutral. Okay, and then I go the other way, that's second, you know. And the problem is now this first one has to be in neutral before you can put it in third, because it's on a different setting back. It's on a different, you know, back half of the transmission. So there's third gear, you can cruise around third, but then you can bring it back up and then you can turn it over there for reverse. So imagine you could use a stick radio, like came with the Bruisers and stuff, you know, with the where they had the shift gate on it. Because the way I had mine set up, I had the throttle on the left, and I had my steering and my shifting on the right. So if you used your throttle, your up and down, if you used your left and right on your left rudder, you could have your one of your gear settings, say your, you know, first and second over here, and then when you bring it back to neutral, you'd have to use two of those shift gates with a plus pattern. And the problem is you bring it back to neutral this way on your radio, which I don't have a radio handy here. I'll show you guys real quick. Then you can use the other one up and down and still use your left and right motion. You know, it's just, you know, as long as one's in neutral, when you're using the other side, it's okay. So, but like I say, I like the you know, the pistol grip radios because they're, you know, a lot of features in them, and I'm kind of used to them now. And you can use these pretty much with one hand, you know what I mean? So that's a nice thing about these, where the old like aircraft, old rudder radios back in the days, you needed, you know, two hands to run them things to steer it and use your throttle. So that's my video for today. Hope you guys liked my build. And like I say, I can't wait to get it out and just start busting around in it. So, and it's supposed to warm up this week, and I'm gonna try to do something with it, even if it's wrong. If not, it'll be next Saturday. So, you guys have a good one, man. Later.